Each of these panelists are going to share their insights about what they've been through. They've been through the process that a lot of you may be considering, and they're going to share their insights about what they would do differently and what they did that worked. So again, let's start with a 1-minute elevator speech from each of you. Start on the end. JT, introduce yourself and let everybody out there know who you are and what you do.
Everyone here? I guess so. Thanks for having me, Steve. My name is JT Shinners. I'm the CEO of JTS Direct. We provide printing and retail advertising services to shared mail and retail customers. Recently, within a couple months, just went through a recapitalization of our company. The economy, as it did to many manufacturers, hit our balance sheet and our P&L real hard in 2008 and 2009. We were able to consolidate facilities and considerably strengthen our P&L in 2010, but the economy really left a terrible balance sheet in our wake. So we had to do something to make the company healthier, though we were very profitable. So we did a recapitalization with PS Capital Partners, who's here. Bank Mutual, our bank, is also here, so I got to be careful what I say. So my perspective was not to sell the company. It was to recapitalize because I want to have a long career in running it and find the right partners. So that's been my very recent experience.
Kent?
Hi. Hello. I'm Ken Tabor. I'm the president of EmbedTech. I was the founder of that company. Started first company at 23 right out of college and sold that 10 years later. Started in BedTech and had a great run and tried all these different things, some good, some bad. But our current business, we manufacture industrial electronics, panel PCs for construction, industrial, like medical applications. And probably the biggest thing that might be of good discussion in this group is that I went through all these different trade-offs of bringing in financial partners, merging. I've done it 3 times where I brought in one time a public company, merged with another smaller company, and more recently I brought in 3 just great partners to help grow EmbedTech to the next level. And so it's been a fun ride, but that's who I am.
I'm Mike Harris. I guess I'm a serial entrepreneur is probably the best way to describe myself, but I've been through, was a CFO of a venture capital group called WinPoint Partners many years ago. They were overseen in Chicago group, now they're all in Chicago, big private equity. And then I've been involved in several different startups along the way. I was the CFO of a company that had venture capital that then went public. Then I started up a company called Jefferson Wells here in Milwaukee, and I did that with venture capital, and then we sold that. And then since then, I've done several companies where we've raised angel money to start and then brought in venture capital. And I've done a couple where we've just done angel capital. So I've seen a little bit of everything, and I've been involved in sort of different roles in these different companies, but building them up. And most of the time, I've always focused on just building a great business. I figured if I do that, someone's going to want to buy it. And in cases when you had venture capital involved, you really didn't call the shots about timing and things like that. So hopefully I can share some good insights about all the different ways you can get funding.
Tom?
My name is Tom Campion. I'm with Merit Capital out of Chicago. We've been around since 1993. We've done about 60 transactions, of which I think 12 have been in the state of Wisconsin. It's been our strongest state. We enjoy investing here. We do primarily recapitalizations and management buyouts, normally from fairly basic industries, manufacturing, chemicals, processing, and service, and some distribution businesses. And I appreciate very much the opportunity to come up and speak.
Tom, let's start with you. Merit Capital. Tom drove up here from Chicago today to join us. Merit Capital's done about 60 deals and holds about $1.7 billion in assets under management. As he mentioned, 12 of those deals have come into Wisconsin. So my first question is, why Wisconsin? What about Wisconsin and Wisconsin companies is attractive to your company?
I think a couple things. One is we have some Wisconsin roots, and I find that the Illinois companies don't enjoy me speaking about the Packers and Badgers nearly as much as the folks up here do. I'm originally from Wisconsin. My partner, Tim McKenzie, was also here in Wisconsin, ran the Prudential Capital Office at one time. So we do have some Wisconsin roots, and our transactions are primarily sourced from advisors, which in the state of Wisconsin, many times attorneys are very close advisors. They've been a nice source of deals, but we are truly partnering with management teams, and if we are a good partner, that serves as a great reference to the next guy, because everyone can tout themselves how they're great people to work with, but the best is to talk to a CEO or CFO of the company you actually are working with, and they can give you the real reference. But I thought as I said before, we work with a lot of industrial and manufacturing type companies. We find Wisconsin has a number of those, has a great work ethic, great values. We really look at it as a state that we like to do a lot of business in, and we hope to continue.
What about the rest of you fellas? You do business here in Wisconsin. What about Wisconsin's business climate, or its people, or its educational system? What are our assets right now, and how can we improve as a state our economy?
Well, I guess I've raised probably $5 to $6 million of angel capital from individual investors in the state. So there's individual wealth in town, and if you have a good company and a good story, I think there's some folks willing to put money into sort of early stage companies. I will say the venture side, I did have one venture partner in town that did very well on the company, Jefferson Wells, and they were terrific partners. But I've had to go to Chicago a couple of times for bigger rounds of venture capital, so I certainly would love to see that get pushed a little bit harder here in Wisconsin. But great place to open up a company, great people, great ethics. I like it.
Kent, any thoughts?
I think especially I was born and raised in Wisconsin, so certainly it's easy to find, actually it's been fairly easy to find investors when you're looking for it. I think it's almost too easy in a way. What's more important, I think, is to get the right investors in one way or another, that it's, like they say, it's when you bring in partners or even financial partners, it's a marriage, and you better have a really good feeling of ethics and exactly have the same long-term vision, or just like a marriage, you'll have problems. And so I think to the question though, in Wisconsin though, it's great if you're from here, because it's easy. People know who you are. It's easy to kind of find out background of people, and have they always done business ethically, and are they good hardworking people. So the climate's been very good for me. So if anyone says you can't find money out there, it's certainly not true. So,
JT?
From my perspective, being born and raised in Wisconsin, having a local business, not a national business, it was critical to me to find partners that are local, at least in the upper Midwest for sure. Tom and I actually worked on a deal a couple years ago, a larger one that didn't end up working out, but as he said, he's one of us, so that's okay.
Thank God we didn't invest in it.
From a small business owner perspective, like myself, to be able to drive within a couple hours, in this case 30 minutes, to meet with my partners, Paul is here, PS Capital, my bank, all being local is hugely important. So anyone out there thinking about recapping and partnering, either with a bank, let's face it, we're partners with our banks also, being local really helps. When you can drive and sit down face to face and work through things, I think it's very, very important. And typically in Wisconsin, you're going to get what you see with people.
Mike, I want to shed some more light on your story. Mike took Jefferson Wells and built it into a national company with $135 million in sales, 1,700 employees. It was a textbook venture capital funding growth story. Investors made 25 times their money, and manpower was happy too. So I wonder if you could share some light today about what drove that company's growth and brought you to a point where it became a lucrative target of an international company like Manpower.
How much time you got? Just kidding. I did, that was a sort of a very high growth story from the very beginning. I had been the CFO of a company that had been started by WinPoint Partners, the venture guys, and we took that thing to a pretty nice $150 million run rate in sort of 6 to 7 years, and then took it public. So I had been through sort of that high growth, crazy, hyper growth scenario. And that was the plan from day one, is to open up a lot of offices around the country and first start by getting a model built and make some mistakes along the way, tweak it. And so the plan from the very beginning, of course, with venture capital was to build something fairly quickly and as sizable as we can. Even though our plan was $36 million in sales in 5 years, we did 136. So it was a sort of beat the plan in the right way. And so, you know, from the very beginning, that was the plan, to build a large organization. We figured once we got that big, obviously it was going to take a big company to buy us. But, you know, I think it was just hard work, a little bit of luck. And, you know, the one nice thing about that story is we had a good venture capital scenario where 2 venture capital firms were involved, and I never, ever had to think about capital. They were very pleased with how we were going and asked me if I wanted more capital to do it faster. I said, 130 million in 5 years wasn't fast enough. But so it was really sort of a plan from day one to build it, and that's probably a little different than some of the scenarios in the room. Is I always, you know, from the beginning with that company especially, and some of the other ones too, the intent was to build it and sell it in sort of that 5 to 7 year time frame and get liquidity. So it's a little bit of a different attitude when you're sort of thinking of that versus building something that is passed along to a family and things like that.
As was mentioned, Mike is a serial entrepreneur, and we're going to come back to your current venture in a moment here, Mike. But I want to turn to Kent. In doing some of the research in preparation for this event, Kent disclosed to me that his wife calls him an Engia geek. And he said that at the age of 10, he knew he wanted to be an electrical engineer. So my question to you is, I've met a lot of people with that technical skill set. They're engineers and so forth, scientists and so forth. I've met a lot of salespeople who are wired to sell. You have a rare dual, almost schizophrenic skill set going on, and I wonder how you developed that and what type of an advantage has that been for you as you've sought out and grown companies?
I was really lucky that I grew up an entrepreneur family. So my dad started a company right out of college and built it up to a really successful company when I was a young kid. And I also saw him lose it all. I saw my dad pretty much go bankrupt my senior in high school. So I've seen the whole range of the good and bad and what hard work it takes to grow a business and what to expect. So yeah, I had a passion for electronics. My dad was in mining tunneling. I have no idea where that came from, but I was lucky enough at 10, I decided I was going to be an electrical engineer. I was going to start my own company. And that was a major benefit to me because I knew I had an exact vision of where I wanted to go. Original mission statement was pretty silly looking back at it, but as a college student, you know, I just wanted to start my own business, have the freedom to do cool things and work with my friends and hope to make as much money as if I took a job somewhere. and hope that if I created good things, the money would come. So I've been lucky enough to have that vision and that dream that everybody, you know, that wants to be an entrepreneur wants to be. But one of the key things that I have learned out of being complete ignorance, I guess, on M&A stuff, even as a 23-year-old, is intellectual property gets kind of overlooked. Like I hear early on, like the EBITDA numbers and the financial numbers, but my success really is just having a good idea, being able to sell it, and having people believe and sign up with nothing, basically. So I've been lucky enough to start and generate cash with just an idea, and that's been a fun thing to be able to say that I've been able to experience.